It's showtime. Welcome to Practical AI, episode number 12. I'm here, Olga Pichnyanka, with my wonderful co host, Chris Pearson. And we are here to shine the light on what's been happening this week in Practical AI. And oh boy, another week of lots of crazy things going on. So we're going to all unpack it for you. We're going to make it as easy as possible to try to understand what's real, what's not real, what to follow, what to not follow. I wrote on my LinkedIn this morning that, whatever space you're in, AI right now is flying so fast in whatever space it is. I happen to be in sales and recruiting, and things just happening nonstop. So what I always tell people, it doesn't really matter what space you're in. You got to understand what's happening in AI right now and how can I actually apply it in my space, because that's what the frontier people are doing right now. So I'm happy you're here. Welcome to our channel. Chris, do you have anything else to say before we move on?
Yeah, so today is all about AI coming for you. What does that mean? So most of our interaction with AI tools and stuff has been like going to ChatGPT, going to Grok, asking questions, doing that kind of thing. You go to the AI tool. Well, now what we're talking about this week is embedded AI, and that is AI prompts existing in the software that you use, in the tools that you use, in the workflows that you already have. AI is coming for you. So whether you wanted to go to ChatGPT and play with those tools or not, doesn't really matter. A prompt box is coming to software that you use, and it's coming fast. This is the future. This is what we're talking about this week. AI is coming to you.
And we're going to talk a lot about what that looks like. So we're going to kick it off today with actually why AI native tools are pulling ahead. So think about it this, like Chris was talking about. When you think about AI, most of us think about chatbot, right? Like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. You type something in and magic happens. But this week, what caught my attention was a company called Figma and OneDrive. So what they're actually doing, they are rewriting what is built-in AI actually means, and why users are flocking to them. So Figma shipped AI image generation that's 50% faster with prompting and editing embedded directly in the canvas. So you never have to leave the tool. You never have to copy and paste, try to kind of piece things together. It's all there. So what does that mean for their users, Chris, if it's in there and they don't have to leave?
Well, you're working in the tool, you're using this tool, and you want to achieve something. Previously, the process has gone something like this. You have the idea for the thing you want to do. You then maybe need to explore what options or tools within that software you need to deploy to do it. Like, oh, I need to click on this layer. I need to add this filter. I need to do this thing. I need to use the lasso tool. I need to select this. I need to move this around, that kind of thing. You then engage in some process. The existence of an AI prompt inside the tool makes it so you can have your idea, express the idea to the prompt, and then the outcome just happens. You
Right.
don't need to know what tool to do. You don't need to know where to find it on the menu system. None of that stuff. It's idea to the page, boom. That is the promise of embedded AI.
So what that means is that probably the user satisfaction is higher, I'm assuming, right? Because they stay there, they actually can play with it longer instead of going to not a banana, then going to prompt in ChatGPT, trying to figure out what prompt to even say, and then you go back to not a banana. And so you go back and forth and try to make it work. And Figma figured out how not to do that, how to embed it. But what is actually happening on the back end? So is their LLM kind of cooked in the Figma, and they're sort of like making it happen with the magic sauce in the back end? Kind of what's the back end of that's happening?
Yeah, so I learned exactly how this works at this kind of scale this week. So what they'll do is you will enter the prompt request. That starts an asynchronous process that runs in the background. It can be slow or fast. It depends on the nature of the query and also how that connection works, and like whether that's something that is like a defined pathway within the software, or whether it's something like the AI has to figure out. Okay, and so it will start this process, and then you continue your work or whatever, and this thing's cooking, and then maybe like 8 seconds later, it gives you a response, say, "Oh, here you go," and it's done this thing.
It's right in there.
And so usually what's happened there, there's been a little bit of a data exchange. So Figma has like a data layer behind, whatever you're creating. This thing has now fed it some more information, and then boom, it spools it up and adds it to your working environment.
Right. And then the other company is called it's OneDrive, and I believe it's Gemini one. So what they do, it's the photo assistant. It's like where you store your photos or files, and mostly photos. And so what now it does, it detects faces, builds albums, it curates information. So it's not a feature that's bolted in. It's actually, they reimagined how a user wants to organize their photos. We all have thousands of pictures these days, right? And that's overwhelming to go and try to organize it. Well, now OneDrive did it for you. They did it quietly, but they transformed the file manager into a photo assistant. So those two examples, go check them out and see what the AI native kind of product looks like. But the shortcut for you today, there's 4 things that you will see in AI native products. Because again, there's a lot of companies that are still bolting AI onto the product versus you coming into AI native environment. So the first thing is inline generation. There's no separate interfaces. Second thing is editable results, not final outputs. You can continue to tweak it and figure this out as you go. So you don't just get a final product and then off you go. The third one is fast response times. It doesn't interrupt your flow. And the fourth is a seamless handoff. No friction, no context switching. Like today, for example, I try to use ChatGPT to generate some slides for LinkedIn, and it was just like, it still cannot connect certain things. I still have to go back and forth. And, it's kind of frustrating to not be able to do the full product yet. So anyway, that's it for kind of AI native part of it. I just wanted to highlight those 2 companies that you can go out and check it out. And now going forward, whenever you are coming across anything with AI, kind of think about like, what's the most invisible AI tool you've used? One that actually helped without getting in your way. Because as soon as you start piecing it together, you're not in the AI native world anymore, right, Chris?
Yeah, if you're having to bounce, we call it bouncing between different UIs, separate places, that kind of thing, back and forth, copy pasting, not it. That's not embedded AI. Embedded AI is from prompt to results, seamless integration of that. So you're not bouncing around, you're not going to different UIs and that kind of thing. I want to leave everybody with just one mental picture to have here to sort of define whether or not something is embedded AI. And I've already said it, but I'm going to give you a clear imagery here to fall back on. So you have a website, let's say, and you want to change your design to dark mode. This is your intent. This is the thing you want to do. So you tell the prompt, make my design dark mode, and it just does it. What actually happens there is you need to have some understanding of the way the design works. You're going to have to go and make some CSS tweaks. Maybe that's done through an options panel, depending on how your design's set up. Maybe it's required custom CSS. Maybe you have to do some other torturous thing because of the system you're using. It doesn't matter, but you have an idea, and this needs to be executed in some way. Embedded AI is you express the idea and the outcome happens. That is the magic. You don't need to know how it's done. It just does it for you. You get to the result. And if you think about it, that's so amazing because I don't know, I think my 20-year website history, like people have all these things that they express that they want, but actually getting precisely what they want is very difficult. The pieces involved are sometimes super messy. Sometimes their understanding of what they want doesn't really match the reality of what happens there. And to be able to sit here and say, we are now at the point where you can express an idea and get that result in seconds with the help of this tool. Phenomenal stuff.
So we will continue to shine the light on those AI native products, so that way you can start understanding how it shows up different. It's not going to be this pretty design anymore. Design is going to be something completely different in the AI native environment. So moving on.
I got to give another quote to set up the rest of the show. There's a great Steve Jobs quote that I love that I need you to be having in your head the rest of the show. He says, most people think design is what it looks like. Design is how it works.
Right.
So when we say design, the rest of this show, I want you to think design is how it works.
It's not about, the most pretty picture you can possibly imagine. Anyway, so so moving on to the next segment. Remember how a couple of weeks ago we had a segment about MIT study and how 95% of their projects at big companies, enterprise companies failed.
Oh, I remember, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
This is
talked
the great
about
refactoring.
what made it work, what didn't make it work. So this next study this week caught my eye. G2, whatever that is, they sort of have different data. They surveyed 1,000 B2B software buyers, and they kind of pulled up thousands of reviews, and they looked at what's actually working in agentic AI. So I want you to think about it differently. There's the company-wide, projects that companies start. Those are the ones that fail because there's a lot of silos and stuff. But this study was different. They really looked at satisfaction when it comes to the actual AI agents used. And what they found out is that 83% satisfaction rate among users who deployed AI agents. That's about 1,000 people, companies that they've reviewed. They found out that more than 40% reported cost reductions, 23% faster workflows, and 70% say the agents are operational. So again, this is the agents, not the whole, shebang when it comes to AI deployment in the company. But what that means, like what exactly does that mean? Is when the agent is deployed to help save you time, to create something more, to maybe make something simple in your life, in your world, at work, those things work really well, and people are actually happy when that's being executed. What do you think about that story, that quick story that I wanted to share? Is there anything that surprised you, Mr. Specific?
I think a lot of these standard business practices and processes are such good candidates for AI replacement. To me, this is the lowest hanging fruit. If you've got like some paperwork process, like here's the initial report gets generated, it goes to this office, they do this like approval or denial sort of thing, and then it goes somewhere else. Like, my goodness, that thing needs to be massively automated where, like the only human intervention there is like the necessary things like a sanity check, yes or no on this, and then move along. And I think if you're a business that has a lot of these flows and you haven't explored these agentic solutions, you're failing miserably. Like, this should be initiative number
So
one.
I had a little argument with somebody on X about he was kind of, I don't know, defining or poo-pooing agents or something. And I asked him, like, what's your definition of an agent? And he couldn't really explain it to me. He kept like sending me links or something. And I'm like, why is it so hard to explain what an agent is? It's not that hard. Like, I mean, it's like, is it saving you measurable time? Like, is it, is it helping, fix the problem? And is it is it working autonomously? Like, is it completing a task?
Yeah,
And
that's my definition for an agent. It's not it doesn't answer a question, it does something.
exactly. And
It
I'm
does.
like, this is the big difference. And that's where companies are seeing satisfaction, is taking one task at a time. I know we talk about this every week, but figuring out what those tasks are and start small. Don't try to fix the whole process or whatever. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting
Hey, have you
study.
seen any jobs about like companies searching for people who specialize in embedding these AI workflows?
Oh my God, there's a
Like,
lot of those.
I
There's
don't
a
know,
lot,
some sort of consultant or something
there's
to
a lot
come
of
in and
those.
like refine these
Oh
processes?
God, I think there's going to be a huge business, honestly. Like, there's a lot of companies that that understand this low hanging fruit and how actually easy the framework of that is, and then they go to those smaller companies or medium sized companies, and they help them figure that out and build it and charge really good money for that.
I mean, you would think this would be like the hottest consultancy
Oh, I mean,
possible right now.
if I wasn't busy with everything else we're doing, that's exactly what I would be doing right now.
I mean, it
Because
makes sense.
that's kind of what it is. So think about the tasks that you have, and what can be automated, and start moving along. Especially if you have a business, I guarantee you there's a gazillion. I found 35 hours a week with like things that I offloaded off my hands. So I basically created another me with all my tasks that I delegated to do
As
more.
soon as you have one employee, you probably have a lot of stuff that this applies to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anyway, those are the two quick little things I wanted to touch base before I move on to the juicy parts of the today's topic, which is the embedded AI and how it's not about models anymore, right? And so here's the deal.
It's not about models. So it's not about like, oh, ChatGPT 4.5. It's not about Claude Sonnet 4.5. It's not about that.
There's definitely the major players that are there right now, right? There's Gemini, there is Amazon Quick Suite, there is ChatGPT, there is Claude, there's, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of big guys out there, but they are building AI into their core of how their work gets done. And so here's the thing, embedded AI doesn't mean one thing. And the architecture choice you make, like who controls the infrastructure, where your data lives, is becoming the real competitive advantage. So this used to be about who had the biggest model, but now it's about who embeds deepest and keeps the most control. So for example, Gemini Enterprise, right? So AKA Google, it's a perfect centralized platform play, right? And I'm sure a lot of people on the show today, they use Google for, Gmail and the Drive and everything. So Gemini makes a lot of sense because you have this conversational platform where you have the 6 core components. So Gemini models as the brains and a no-code workbench where employees can build and orchestrate agents. You can actually build the agent inside of Gemini right now that connects with Drive and Google Sheets and this and that. So literally, you can make your own agent. But here's the deal, like it's inside Gemini. So you don't really own it. So you're like locked into their platform. And so Amazon has similar concept, slightly different execution, research, content generation, automation, all accessible through a browser extension for $20 a seat a month. And both platforms aim to keep enterprise employees working within one ecosystem, keeping the needed context in local storage so you don't lose context jumping between windows. But the goal of agentic AI is to automate the reasoning planning action loop. So you're not manually copying outputs anymore, and agents are reasoning about your data, making decisions, and executing workflows. But like, what does it even mean to be embedded? Like, what does that mean to you to have embedded AI?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, there's definitely like very different branches of embedded AI. I kind of don't even consider these plays to be embedded AI. I consider these to be.
But they count as embedded AI.
They count as embedded AI, but they're really augmentation layers, and they're really aimed at employees within companies.
Well,
or anyone who uses a standard suite of email, docs, and other stuff for their work-based deliverables. So like the Google system, for example, it can connect Google Workspace, your Drive, Microsoft 365, Salesforce, SAP. Obviously, you're not using Salesforce or SAP unless you're in a big company. So it can connect all those things. It can say, hey, get my reports from here, send them over there. You can connect your email to it, do all that stuff, and create these nice workflows. So that is definitely like an enhancement layer, an augmentation layer that's AI driven. I feel like it's very agentic. That has very agentic flavor to me. Amazon's Quick Suite is interesting. So this is supposed to be automating like research, content, report generation, and what you do with these items. It feels very similar, but it's like, I feel like Google has a real big advantage there because like everyone's using Google Docs. Like I'm using Google Docs. I don't even like all this stuff, but if I'm going to do a document, I'm using Google Docs. So I'm not really sure how Amazon stuff fits in there or like who is the best fit. But, these are all piecing together basic paperwork processes to me, more or less. Research.
Well, if you're working in Gemini in G Suite and in Google, like you spend a lot of time in there, right? Because you've got the email in there, you've got your Google Sheets, you've got your Power, whatever. There's all
email's also a paperwork process to me.
You're locked in, but that information lives inside of Gemini.
You have to expose your information to both Amazon or Gemini if you're going to do it.
Well, I mean, they already have access to that because like all my work stuff and business stuff.
Well, like the Amazon one in particular, you're supposed to expose some, like you can expose work databases and stuff like that to connect some certain things and to do things.
Well, but the question is like, okay, so there's centralized embedded AI. So you have to log in somewhere into someone else's castle or whatever kingdom to use their land, and you're sort of like paying to rent, right?
Right.
So it's
you don't own the flows you create. It's flows they provide that you tap into.
Right. And once you're done, you're done. So like there's no more kind of like it's not really yours.
But is that a negative?
I don't. Well, that's the question. There's really no such thing as negative or positive. It's like, what is it that you kind of like? What are you looking for? What kind of solution? So that there's all these different models that are appearing right now, right? And then there is a self-hosted or distributed embedded AI, kind of like what PageMotor is doing right now, right? So it's different. So PageMotor has Architect AI built directly into the admin panel, and it's an embedded prompt interface where you literally generate production-ready pages, uses LLM models you choose to connect. So
This is my favorite type of embedded AI.
you can plug in Claude,
obviously.
GPT, or any model you want, and from one prompt, you can generate whatever it is that you want to generate. And so the AI infrastructure lives inside your platform. So you self-host, it's your data, your infrastructure, but the AI generation capability is baked in, it's not bolted on. So those are the two very different ones. And clearly, it's a lot more work, I guess, for you as a user to set up PageMotor. But what are your thoughts about all that?
Well, I think it's sort of a minimal difference. So the difference is in something like PageMotor, you own the whole means of production. It's your website, it's your content, it's your database. You can choose whether or not anything else gets exposure to that. You can have stuff on the back end. You can not publish things. You can publish things. You have total control over that output, and it's a way for you to use that tool, like I said, to express an idea. I want my design to be dark mode, and then you get it. You can express a different idea. You can say, I want a suite of pages of content about this topic, and I want to capture the market, the SEO market, for example, on this term. And then it can create that suite of pages, and now you've got all this content that's sort of like aimed at this specific initiative. So it's a different tool. It's a different weapon.
But then there's a third one, like Lovable, right? Where you generate the code there and you technically own the code. You can take it with you, whatever you want to take it. But as you're working in there, it still lives on their server. So it's almost like there's three different poisons right now you can pick. And one comes with different pros and cons, right?
Right. So it's like, what are you creating? With that's the best way to look at these tools. One, you're creating process flows, repetitive process flows that are going to happen within your business. You're creating a way to optimize those. Another one, like Lovable, you are creating an app, basically.
Yep.
And you then have options. You can just host it there with Lovable. You've got lock-in. You've got whatever terms you have on using their servers and whatever speed that is. But you have the benefit of having the embedded AI. You've got your code base right there. It's like a living IDE that's got exposure to an AI, so the AI can kind of manage it for you, make all the changes and do that. So that's cool. And then with PageMotor, you've got this thing that you own. It's like a creation engine, a publishing engine that's can do whatever you need to do to publish whatever you want online.
So the difficulty level, probably Gemini is the easiest. The Lovable is the medium, and then the PageMotor is the hardest from the.
I don't know if I would say that. I mean, I think they're all pretty simple.
Really?
I think they're all pretty simple. I actually think the Google one's probably potentially the hardest because you're connecting all these disparate things, and hopefully, like, they've got exposure and logins or whatever you need to be able to connect some of these things, and they're complex tools. But I think the Lovable and the PageMotor ones are actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
In terms of like prompt and outcome, and like what your what kind of flexibility you have. But I think that's kind of the genius of all these embedded AI done right yields a simple tool. They're easy to use. They're delightful. They're amazing.
And so the difference here is that, again, we're not talking about the chatbot where you're talking like it's bolted on and you're talking about it and you have to go piece it together. We're talking about you log in and there's a prompt, right, where you enter whatever you want to do and things happen. And so I guess the question is like, where do you want your data to live, right? How much control do you want them to have? And this, we're sort of mixing centralized and decentralized models when it comes to embedded AI, because it's like there's embedded AI, and then there's like, where can you host it and how can you interact with it on kind of as a second layer, right?
What happens with the output?
Right.
And like, the output, do you totally own it? Do you manage it?
What can
Is
you
it managed for you? Like Lovable offers a way to like have it managed for you, which is pretty nice.
Well, what does that mean, manage for you? Like, what
Well,
exactly?
that means like you don't have to have hosting. They've provided the hosting. You're not paying a bill. You're not worrying about the hosting. You're not worrying about configuring the hosting to make sure it works with your stuff. You're just accepting whatever they give you. Now, it may not be adequate in all situations, but like that's the trade-off.
So we're going to talk about this in a little bit, who truly owns AI at this point, and who is the ultimate, owner and the boss. But before we get to that point, it's interesting to know, basically, the more centralized it is, the more locked in you are, the less control you have. But then for some people, they don't really care about that.
Right.
And then for some people, who would care about having control over their data?
Well, I kind of don't think that's even the question now. I don't think it's about your data. I think it's about, we've talked about many times, you use the analogy like this AI thing, the arms race is like a car race.
Mm-hmm.
GPT pulls ahead, Grok pulls ahead. Oh, now Claude has taken the lead on the inside turn. That kind of thing. For me, I want the flexibility to play with different models. And this is going to segue into another portion of the show later. The reason why, so for example, this week, Anthropic just introduced Haiku 4.5, which is 1/3 the price of Sonnet 4.5. Sonnet 4.5 is a very good model. I've gotten unbelievable results with Sonnet. But if Haiku is 1/3 the price, think about this. Let's say I had an offering with PageMotor where you were paying $20 a month to use this AI agent, and it was Sonnet. But then I see that Haiku is delivering essentially the same results, possibly even better in some cases, and I just switched that model on you overnight. You don't know. I don't tell you. But now I'm literally getting 66% more money than I was getting before off the same customers, off the same amount of token usage. So I haven't changed my price, but my margin just took a serious chop. So like now I'm winning hard. And I didn't need to really let anyone know that. As a user, I want to be able to choose what model I use. I would like to also have control over the pricing that I pay, because if compute power gets cheaper, which it's going to, if models get more efficient, which they're going to, I want to be able to win along those lines. If you are participating in something like Lovable, if you are participating in something like the Google and all this stuff, they're not going to lower their pricing ever. Ever.
Why is that? Why wouldn't they?
Why would they? They don't have to. You don't get exposure to the guts. You're just getting strictly a results basis here. Are you getting the results? Yes. Then shut up. It's this much a month.
Right.
But I would like to be able to say, well, you know what? I want to switch the model to Haiku today, and I know that my token usage is going to be cut by 1/3. I can save money. I actually want to pay as I go for the actions I take. Cost per action.
Are tokens, and maybe this is a dumb question, but are tokens, like, they cost different price depending what platform you use, like Claude or ChatGPT?
Yeah, it's not equivalent thing across all platforms.
Okay.
Each one defines what a token is within there.
Is it a pretty straightforward? Is there like a stock market for how much AI costs today, or like is there?
There probably will be a ticker like that in the future. I think that's funny.
I'm very curious about that, because I'm like, oh, today's winner is whatever.
Well, like I look at it like this. Like, let's say that I'm deploying. I create content. I run an agency. I'm creating content with my AI. I'm creating some specific design outcomes with my AI, and I know that my weekly token usage is we'll throw a number out there. We'll say it's 100,000 tokens. So I use 100,000 tokens a week. My cost is currently, $100 a week. If Haiku comes along, and what I do is not really that complex, it's more repetitive. All the data's there. Like, the model's going to be able to do this, even with a lesser model. So now my cost is now $33 a week.
Mm-hmm.
I want the flexibility to be able to actually win with that difference. Like, I'm the agency. I know what actions I'm taking. I've set them all up. I don't want to have a pricing structure that guarantees that I'm always at 100 and it only gets more. If the price of the compute comes down, I can make the choice for my business to have a model that's cheaper. I want to be able to capture that. That's important for small business, for agility.
And we're not going to go into pricing right now, but I have a feeling that the way you embed AI and the way you use AI, the embedded AI in your business, has a lot to do with how much you pay for that when it comes to pricing. So there's going to be different, I'm just guessing, centralized models may be the most expensive ones or something, because they're trying to cover all of their bases to give you unlimited use, but they're charging you a lot more than you actually use. I don't know.
Well,
And then,
I'm setting up a picture for the future. So I want people to be aware of the fact that embedded AI is going to be everywhere. And you are going to see the emergence of different pricing models, one of which will be one that always gets more expensive, even though compute power gets better and token usage can be halved or better based on new, developments. And one type of pricing model is going to enable you to capture those victories. When things get cheaper, they can actually get cheaper for you. And the other one is going to operate like fiat currency with interest, where you're always paying more. And I am very much on the side of, I don't want to be on the fiat currency. I want to be able to capture victories as they happen, as improvements in technology occur. I want to win.
Are you an American capitalist?
I'm not a very good capitalist, I'll tell you that, but I am an American.
Anyway, well, listen, this was a very good segment to understand. We wanted you to understand what truly embedded AI really means, because it's sort of like it's the foundation of how a lot of things now get played out. So if you're talking to somebody and they're still bolting it onto their software, which we've talked about that ad nauseum in previous episodes, that's not really AI. And that's why the MIT study will show you 95% of those projects will fail when you try to bolt it on. We are talking about the next level.
What does bolt on mean? Like, I still see product demos on X, for example, of people showing workflows that involve copy paste. That is not embedded AI.
No,
that is not it.
No,
like that's your cue. You see copy paste. That's not it.
Bolted on, and to sum it up, bolted on, and I'm gonna do my human version, and you can do your brainiac one. So bolted on means you take the code, whatever code you had before, and you try to put a little solution that looks like AI on top of that. And this AI tool is using this bloated code that was never ready to be optimized for AI to run or try to run certain things, and that most likely will fail.
Oh, I see. So one is software that's reimagined from the ground up with AI in mind, and the other ones they attempt to toss an AI layer on top. I mean, so something like WordPress could only be the latter. It can only be AI bolted on top. They can't reimagine WordPress. It's too convoluted. It's spaghetti. It's not going to work. But something like PageMotor is imagined from the ground up with better data models in mind. It's AI native comparatively. That's not quite embedded AI, but that enables the way PageMotor is built. That type of architecture enables embedded AI. And that's why a company like Figma and what was the other one, Canva, like totally redid their stuff when they realized what they were going to need to do to get to leverage embedded AI.
Yeah, it's almost like if you're building a company or starting a company, you're actually in better shape, because you're going to create the code, hopefully, and that will be kind of useful for AI going forward. So you'll be winning versus the companies that have been around for a while will have to employ consultants or developers or whatever to sort of redo their code and do the great refactoring, as Chris calls it.
That's right. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what kind of company you're in. What everyone is trying to achieve is a user expresses an idea, a desire, and that is just done.
Yep.
The desire is done. Genie in a bottle. That's where we're going. Let me grant your 3 wishes. That's all you're going to get under this token, the token regime, which we'll go into more later. You're going to get 3 wishes a month, and you're going to exhaust all your resources. I saw some more bitching about this today on X. It was great.
So next topic I wanted to talk about today, and there was a lot of trends and news that I saw, and a lot of companies are consolidating in that area this week as well. And I wanted to put this as a separate segment to talk about context. We did discuss context a couple of weeks ago, but this segment is about like, how do you actually build context, right? So to sum it up, if you ever worked in ChatGPT or Claude or anything, if you just open a new chat, it's like it doesn't remember anything. You just talked about. So it's like it forgets everything. So there's no memory, there's no context. It's like you have to explain over and over and over until you create it as a part of the project where you put some documents, and then it has now context where you don't have to explain my audience of practical AI is, practical AI users and implementers, like I don't have to explain that over and over and over when I'm trying to prepare, for example, for the show. Or, if I'm working on a certain client, I have to explain over and over what the client does. But context is like you saving those documents, you're helping AI create that context so they have that thing to sort of remember. It's still not memory. We talked about memory a lot earlier, and we're not going to talk about memory today, but I wanted to really talk about how to actually build context in what you are doing now. So for example, when there's a company called HCA Healthcare, they connected Gemini to their patient records. Before the nurse asks a question, the context is already loaded from their EHR, real time, but not instant. I'm not going to talk about all the security things I have to deal with, yada, yada, yada. But now, right, so everything is connected using Gemini for HCA Healthcare. And when the nurse comes in, it doesn't ask you the questions they always ask you a million times and you get annoyed with. She already has that context, right? And then she can get in straight to caring about you. So that's kind of what we're talking about for AI. But what are your thoughts, Chris, on why context matters even more every week?
So when you get into real prompt engineering, context engineering, especially in the case of building something like an embedded AI, what you discover is that you have a couple of options to answer queries. One option is you can dump freaking everything you got. You can dump the user's content, the whole database in there so that the AI will know everything about their website, for example, in the case of PageMotor, and all the PageMotor documentation. So I'm dumping everything I got, all your site content, all the user data, everything, dumping all that in there, and all the PageMotor documentation, all the rules and stuff for how I want the thing to respond. I can dump that all in there. I'm giving it the full context. But that is an extremely high token cost. If you are just asking for something like, create me a page, it doesn't really need any of that context. It just needs the rules for how to create a page. So it would be better in that case if you could provide only that context and nothing more. But then in the case of more complex procedures, you might actually need to dump some portion of the database. Like maybe if it's a content query, you want to say, okay, I need you to make a pretty big page here about this topic. I've got 3 other pages on my site about this topic. I want to make sure you link to those pages. I want to make sure you cover some of these things and fill in the gaps for SEO to add this extra layer. So you would need to feed in your content as well into that query. So that would provide the context for the model to give you a really good answer based on the stuff you already have. But you wouldn't need, for example, in that case, I wouldn't need to supply the documentation for plugin generation and the rules for that. It's not relevant to this query. So, I mean, just looking at actual token usage, if I dumped just the documentation for PageMotor into every request, you're looking at something like 18,500 tokens for a basic request, no matter what you want to do. That's just all the docs. If I then dumped all the database in there, you'd be talking about like another 30,000 tokens probably for a small site. That number could expand infinitely depending on how big the site is. So it's really important then to only grab, ideally, there's an ideal circumstance, to only deliver the tools and documentation and data from the database that is needed to answer this specific query.
Yes, and the more the prompt is, the more AI is going to hallucinate, basically. So you kind of want to be very specific in the prompt and have as much context as possible. And correct me if I'm wrong, saved up already so AI can go and see what the prompt is about when it's tied to certain things. But the prompt is very like laser focused and specific, which what you talk about a lot. And so like the longer the prompt, the more instructions are in the prompt, without a lot of context, the more AI kind of like, what is more important? What's this? What's that?
Well, there's a rule for this. The rule is a prompt can be huge. A prompt can be multifaceted and it can be huge. But for every piece of that prompt, for every facet of it, you should have associated data that's very clearly like
Mhm.
this connects to this, and documentation. As soon as you start getting into stuff where it's not clear, like, oh, this definitely goes with this goes with that. As soon as you venture outside of that, you're in hallucination territory. That's the challenge of prompt engineering, is to make sure that you are giving it exactly what it needs and ideally nothing more. Now, you're probably going to need to give a little bit more. It's not going to be 100% efficiency there. There's certain reasons for that. It's kind of hard to tell, like maybe this will be necessary, maybe it won't. You want to have more than you need rather than less than what you need. But, for token management over time, it matters. This is the new efficiency engineering. This is the new page speed on the internet. It's to make sure that you're not exhausting token usage with a bunch of crap that doesn't need to be there.
Exactly. That's actually saving, like that's a true, like if nothing else, is the truly saving money advice right here. And this is actually hot off the press. I don't even know if I told you this morning. Claude just released this yesterday, this thing called Skills. And it's I know you can.
You're telling me now for the first time.
I know you can upload it. I wanted to keep a surprise for you. You can basically upload whatever it is that's helpful for a different task or different things. So like documentation to Claude that helps with specific skills. So any prompt you do, it will run against and compare and see.
Oh, I like this. This is like simplifying what you would actually try to do with an MCP.
I cannot wait to play with it. That's going to be so fun. This was my first week playing with Claude, and I am a big fangirl. So, and now they came up with this. I'm very excited to even try it more. It's such a big difference compared to ChatGPT. So, again, everybody has their own beauties, but anyway, Claude is incredible.
Let me just roll through the 3 patterns for context, okay?
Oh.
The first one is API integration context. That means AI connects directly to your existing systems. You can give it data from your database, but again, the challenge is how much do you give it? What do you give it based on the prompt? And you need that, like, you need that if you have data that's changing frequently. You're going to need to be feeding data to an AI to make decisions on the current state of the data. The question again is what do you give it? How much do you give it? How do you know that you're getting enough? That's an engineering challenge.
It has an interesting thing in there. So if you pick the API integration, if you can tolerate 500 microseconds, 1 second latency for context retrieval.
Yeah. I think that was a little bit too detailed and not necessarily.
So it's kind of slower, basically.
Well, to me, that's super fast, given that I've been dealing with embedded AI and dealing with like 30+ second responses. So I don't know.
Well, apparently it's not as fast as RAG. So that's what
So retrieval augmented generation is a different way. So there's a prompt. Then in response to that prompt, you say, hey, let's gather exactly the resources we need to answer this or to provide the context for this. That's retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So the retrieval, or the augmentation from retrieval is you're going and fetching. It's like someone shows up in your office and said, hey, I need all the information about this. And then the law clerk runs back there and gets all the boxes of the files that are relevant to this case.
ready for duty.
Yeah, that's what's happening with retrieval augmented generation. But so there is a whole new line of engineering emerging that is developed around getting this stuff fast, getting the right things quickly, and delivering that stuff to AI.
Well, and hold on, I maybe already said this, but you pick API if you need real-time data that changes constantly, like CRM data, live inventory, current pricing. So like,
yeah. So what that really means is if you need a lot of calls back and forth,
right?
It's like you call up, hey, what's the stock price right now?
Right.
Like, oh, give me a second, and then now it's gone up, now it's gone down. Like there's quick changes. Then you need the API because that's how you call back and forth.
Right.
The retrieval augmented generation is a single prompt, a single request, and you're just making, it's really like, call in, here's the request. Okay, let me go get the stuff.
Yeah.
Here it is back. Now you call back.
It's like you have documents or knowledge bases that rarely change. And so it's there, like Chris is saying, it's like a warehouse of data, of documents that doesn't really change that often.
You can think of it like a library. Somebody goes and fetches the right book or books.
Yep. So like customer support AI, documentation search, knowledge-based queries. That's the kind of example that you would use RAG for.
And then the third is embedded context. And, arguably this is what PageMotor does, but it's actually not quite capturing it. So it's saying that the context isn't something you would just go out and retrieve on the fly. It is just baked into the platform. That assumes that everything gets shoved into the query. And I am saying that PageMotor and the way I see embedded AI and software working is it's actually a hybrid of retrieval augmented generation and embedded context. You need certain embedded context to describe what the heck the thing is, like what the tool is that this AI responds to, what the prompt is actually working with. That's not going to change. We'll call that the system prompt. The core system prompt doesn't change. But the stuff that you add, like I don't want to be dumping the entire database in there all the time. That's going to be too high a cost. So now I have to practice retrieval augmented generation to say, okay, we're going to need this. I need, there's 8 database tables in a typical PageMotor installation right now. I actually need just the content table. And ideally, I can choose a subset of that and only deliver that to make it even more efficient on the token usage. So it is, it's just a little more involved, but it's just good engineering. It's efficiency engineering. It's basic stuff. It's just applied in a new way now.
Well, and this is for the users that do similar tasks repeatedly, right? And so they are the ones, like you even mentioned that when you generate pages in PageMotor now, it's almost like learning on its.
It seems to be learning how to use the formatting and apply it better. Like I've done, I think 30 some odd page generations, and the results have just gotten better,
right,
and more striking. So something's happening there.
So the biggest takeaway from all of this is like there's no one size fits all. Maybe you need to try all 3, but really it's just kind of like what pattern fits your constraint and kind of go with that, right? Is it your real-time data? Does it change constantly? Then you got to go with API. You have a static knowledge base. You've got RAG. You've got building a platform. You got to embed it. So like that's kind of what I want you guys to walk away from this, is that there's different uses for all of them, and just sort of nice thing to know, and like how does it actually work in the real world.
Yep.
So there's no friction. Yep. Anyway, so
there's a lot here. This is an emergent category of engineering for the web.
Well, this is
one that I really got.
This is, I mean, okay. Have you guys been to Barcelona? So if you've been to Barcelona, they've got obviously the old little town, beautiful, all of that stuff, and then the new part of town was built by an architect, afterwards, and it's a very kind of like divided beautifully. Like it has a lot of order. Like
there's diagonally oriented streets with the buildings with the courtyards, and it's just stamp after stamp.
The old town is like whatever, but the new town, it's very well architected and designed. I feel like that's what AI is doing right now. Like the architects and software architects and builders doing right now. You guys are like rethinking what is it actually like. How do I build this early on so you don't have to deal with a lot of mess later? But the architecture, like, talk about thinking first principles. Like you cannot use what worked in the past.
Well, there's an interesting thing here. So like with WordPress sites for the past 20 years, we just had all our stuff in a database. And if you go look at the database of any site that's been running for a while, it's a damn mess. It's a mess. And not much is really happening. The database is getting asked questions by the software to render UI pages on the admin, to render content on the front end. That's all typical operation. But what we see now is we're asking a different question of these data layers. We're saying, what do I need right now to answer this question to achieve this particular outcome? It's like we're using this data that exists in various capacities, content data, design data, options data, and we are picking it up and saying, okay, I want to make this change. What do I do with this data to do that? The data has to be modeled in a way where that's easy for the AI. It's like a one-to-one speech sort of thing. You don't need a translator to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're picking up the data almost like toys, like building blocks, and actually trying to do different things with them. And we haven't done that before. We just asked to fetch it and then show it.
Yeah, fetching now is not AI. That's the thing.
Yeah,
fetching is not AI. It's definitely like that's not what we're talking about. So moving on, we are going to talk about very quick about Claude. What happened this week? Because again, we're bringing you the latest and the greatest, and Chris already gave away the farm.
I spilled the beans here.
I know, it's okay. Small but mighty, Claude Haiku 4.5. It's the affordable agent boom. Basically, to sum this up, Anthropic just shipped Claude Haiku 4.5, and it's rewriting the economics of building AI agents. This model matches Claude Sonnet's Force coding ability, while outperforming on math and tool use, and it cost 1/3 as much.
I want to highlight a thing. So there's so much baked into this quick little statement. It matches Claude Sonnet 4's coding ability while outperforming it on math and tool use. Tool use is just going to fly right by and most people won't notice it. Here's what tool use is. When you create embedded AI, such as Architect AI and PageMotor, you define which tools are available for that AI to use. You say, hey, you can create a page. You can create a plugin. You can change options. These are tools. And then the thing reasons based on the prompt. It says, I think based on this query that I need to create a page. And then it actually uses that and generates a response. What they are saying, and this is to me like a fundamental part of the architecture. What they are saying is that Haiku beats Sonnet at that. I already think Sonnet is really good at that. So you better believe I am super excited to try Haiku. And another point I want to make about this is that it's 1/3 the price for token usage. It requires less tokens to get the job done, and allegedly is doing a better job on some of these standard tasks. There's two things at play here. The cost has come down. That's one thing. That's very obvious. The other thing is that they are figuring out that complex reasoning, there's like a real difference between like, oh, this is a relatively patternized operation. You know, it does require a little bit of complexity, but we're seeing similar processes as this one across the board. Okay, so this is something that's going to be like more standardized. And then the complex reasoning stuff gets lumped over here in a different thing. That's what Opus has been for Claude for some time, for these real complex reasoning. Most of the things that we do, I'm talking like 90% plus for normal people, is real basic patternized stuff. You may not really think about it that way, but I promise you it probably fits into that basket. And what we are seeing, since all these things are becoming patternized, Haiku points to this, this pattern we're going to see playing out where things are getting cheaper. We are identifying things that are basic processes, and these are rapidly becoming cheaper. This is great news. This is great news. But the warning I want to give is that if you get locked into AI things like this software that promises an AI layer, you're going to pay X dollars a month. You're never going to capture these gains. You might be getting the outputs that you want. The price is 1/3 the price.
Yep.
The savings.
Yep.
So be wary.
We're in the dating stage of AI right now. Let's not get married yet. Let's keep on swiping.
And make sure you capture the gain. Don't be paying the bill for everybody that you went out with all the time.
Exactly. So obviously it matters for developers, and especially for companies that are growing. I mean, imagine if it's a SEO analysis, kind of tool analyzing 1,000 sites a month, cost drops from 200 a month to 60 a month. Again, like the savings could be pretty significant.
Well, hold on. There's another layer to this that I love, because they are identifying. So what they've done is they've chunked it out. They said, okay, complex reasoning goes over here. Simple reasoning, procedural reasoning goes over here. Haiku is the procedural reasoning thing that they're trying to capture. It is so much faster. They're able to say this goes over here, so we don't need to do a lot of this deep reasoning that we were doing. We were kind of going through some of these processes to see if it mattered. We know now that it doesn't. We just cut that out of the loop. That makes Haiku's processing twice as fast as Sonnet's. The token cost is already 1/3. So if you were 20,000 tokens before, you're 6,600 tokens now. And it's twice as fast.
Yep.
Like that's huge. That almost makes it 3,300 tokens instead of 6,600.
So where is Sonnet now? Is Sonnet at 4.5 now?
Sonnet's at 4.5.
Okay, so they're basically you can still get this Sonnet for $3 per million input tokens, and they're keeping the kind of using the 4 that just renamed it in a little bit.
I have a lot of output from Sonnet now that I like.
Yeah,
I love it. I cannot wait to test Haiku over the coming week to see if I'm similar query, half the number of tokens, 1/3 the number of tokens, whatever it ends up actually being. I will actually know this by the end of next week. So that'll be great. And I have some good benchmarks for like things that can run in 60 seconds.
Yep. So Haiku 4.5, real quick, it struggles with nuanced judgment calls or complex multi-domain reasoning. It also struggles on really long documents where reasoning needs to span 50,000 plus tokens.
Yeah.
So when to use Haiku 4.5, high volume, well-defined tasks, SEO analysis, email triage, proposal writing, content summarization. When to use Sonnet 4.5, exploratory work, nuanced reasoning, edge cases that matter. So that's kind of a little cheat sheet for you.
Can we be honest? Only researchers and stuff should be doing the edge cases and the nuanced work and exploratory work.
There you go. Do with this information what you want. But you've heard it here, so go have fun with it and go automate what you thought was like.
With that said, if you have an embedded AI prompt on the software that you use, I submit that thing ought to let you choose whatever model you want. Bring your own tokens, use whatever model you want, have a field day. Find out what works best for you. I was talking to a guy recently who just swears by Claude Opus, but he wasn't doing anything that really warrants it. He thinks he is. He's an SEO. And, super complex reasoning, does that matter? I remain skeptical. Okay, he was loving what he got, but I'm telling you, Sonnet was blowing me away, and I think could probably do that similarly. It's like, don't have an inflated sense of self-importance about what you do. Like, you will know if it's truly exploratory work. And as we see this landscape unfold, we're really going to start to get real about what is procedural and what requires a certain level of reasoning. We're really going to have a fine understanding of like, okay, this is complex. This is like, multidimensional. This is more standard. This is really basic. Like, that's going to start to emerge. So we won't have this thing now where, I just think a lot of service providers and stuff, some of them think like, oh, I'm really providing this incredible thing. Like, no, you're not. It can be baked down into a procedure, and it will happen. You will be procedured out of existence if you can't adapt to this kind of thing.
So speaking of tokens, we're going to talk about chips next. So I was actually, doing my my weekly review of all the news and trends and what's happening in the AI world. And then I saw this, article that Nvidia invested in another startup or something. And I was like, I keep seeing them investing in all these things because I thought naively, is that the word? That they are a chip manufacturer, right? Like they make chips. And I was like, I keep seeing them investing. And then I saw this piece of news that so far this year, they've invested in 50 plus AI startups. This year alone,
over $110 billion.
$110 billion. So they're not just selling, and I was like, why would they be in the business of chips and as a company invest in startups?
Well, hold on. Are we doing a world premiere breaking news right now? Has anyone talked about this?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I just got, maybe I was just under the bridge and didn't know about this.
Here's what you do. You claim it. So this is a world premiere.
Okay, this is the world premiere.
And then if we're wrong, we can issue a retraction.
You heard this first.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that, and we've had a very, technical first 9 minutes of this conversation. We talked about all the things, practical things you can do. Now we're moving to more of like 10,000, feet or 30,000 feet. I want you to start seeing the landscape, right? Who is the real, what's the puppeteer?
Yeah, who's the puppet master?
Who is the puppet master, right? Because we think it's OpenAI or this or that. Hold on, okay? It's not. It's actually Nvidia. And here is why. They've got their hands in all kinds of different pots. So what is Nvidia? Obviously, they sell, GPUs, and they've been doing this. They've been in this space since like 1993. So they've been through a bunch of different tech cycles. And their CEO, who is actually a co-founder, who's been the CEO for over 30 years, his playbook, he's just using the same playbook over and over and over. He knows what he is doing. They're not betting on the future, they're building it. And we're going to talk about 3 specific futures that they're potentially building and how they're all designed to lock you in. So while the big tech is kind of fighting over chatbots, Nvidia has been quietly placing bets with their chips, literally, across every layer of AI, from the robots to the fusion reactors that will power them. So we're going to talk about follow the chips today, and we're going to track the money to see what they're actually building. And so by the way, by the time we're done, you're going to see what future Nvidia is engineering right now and how we're all trapped in it. And again, it's based on the playbook that they've done for many times. And so here's the first thing. There's a map, right, that I created using Nana Banana. So some of it may not be perfect, but it's good enough.
I love it because it keeps me entertained. It's got entertaining spelling errors. It's great.
Yeah, whatever. If somebody has a problem with that, you can.
No, I think it makes it lovable for some reason.
You can tweak it, but this is the demonstration, okay? So let me walk you through this. Can you? I don't think you can zoom on anything. Can you?
No, I tried to zoom. I was unable to do so when it's in this mode. I can switch back to the other mode though. Let me do that.
No, it's okay. It's
Well, I don't know how. Let me escape.
it's okay.
Let's see if I can bloop it up.
I don't think you can.
Zoom, damn it. Here we go.
Can you? It's fine. It's fine. Just open it up. You can just kind of move the cursor.
Let's do 200%. That's too much. Too much. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to do the slideshow.
All right, let's go. So look at this. 50 plus companies. This is this year, right? $110 billion. So it looks like a solar system. So look at the strategy. The massive sun in the center, that's OpenAI. They've committed $100 billion over the next, I think, like 5 years or something, that they will be, helping OpenAI with their infrastructure. So that's just the anchor. So look at everything else orbiting it. So infrastructure, that's their core bets. So core bets are over there. Yep. So you can see companies, OpenAI, CoreWeave, they invested $4 billion. XAI invested $2 billion. Dib Instinct, $500 million. So they're not just investing in AI, they're financing the entire compute layer that runs it. So think about that, right? So
think big data centers, big processing.
Right. Next is physical AI and robotics. That's their biggest bets. That's Figure AI, 675 million, Wave, 500 million, WeRide. Those are humanoid robots for warehouses, autonomous vehicles. This is labeled the biggest bets for a reason, and we'll show you why. So again, so what I could find, not all of the investments were disclosed. So some of the amounts that obviously they had to disclose, they did, but a bunch of them they did not.
Was it like 30%?
Well, no, that's their customers. There's a mystery
that's right.
customers that there's 2 mystery customers that they have that they're not disclosing, which is a whole other conversation. We can talk about that. But guys, so this company, Nvidia, they already have, like, their revenue is something like, I mean, crazy.
I forget, it's outrageous, but they're on track to be the first $1 trillion company.
I wish I had that number. I had it, but it went away. They already have a ton of revenue coming in from their chips, right? So think about that. And then they're investing all this cash because they're super profitable into these startups. So we talked about infrastructure, physical AI and robotics. The next one is developer tools, like Poolside. They invested $500 million. Mistral, I didn't know they invested in Mistral, which is the European one, right?
Yep.
So that's AI that writes code, which creates more AI apps, which needs, drumroll, more GPUs. And so it's a demand generation machine. So they're like literally funding, like they're investing in their customer that will be buying it back from them. That's an interesting concept. Just think about that. It's like a loop, right? That just keeps on going.
And so they have the agents that use those tools that are higher up the hierarchy.
Right. So we're going to get to that in a second. So we have developer tools, we have creative AI, Runway, Pika, Leonardo. So it's every AI generated video you've seen, it runs on these platforms. So every video generated equals GPU hours, and that's millions of them, and they want them, right? They want those videos to be generated because they need their GPUs. The next one is the segment that they're funding is AI plus biology. Lila Sciences, 115 million. Hippocratic AI, 140 million. Recursion Pharma. AI compressing decades of scientific research into months. So they've got their hand in biology stuff. Then there's energy, Commonwealth Fusion, 863 million. Wait, why is a chip company investing in fusion energy? Because they've done the math, and future AI will need gigawatt scale power. They're securing the electricity before they need it. Why is that? I don't know.
Our most important initiative right now, honestly.
And the last but not least is agent infrastructure. They're even here. N8N, what we talked about last week, 180 million. Scale AI, 180 million. The orchestration and data pipelines that make AI agents actually work. So now look at the bottom of the map. See that warning? There's a pattern. No consumer apps, no chatbots. That's just what's missing. So no chatbot startups, no ChatGPT for lawyers, no viral consumer apps. They only fund infrastructure, the rails, not the trains. And so tools that generate GPU demand, not the apps that might fail. So when you understand why they're making the specific bets, we're going to talk about three futures taking shape.
Did we say the creatives, though? They're doing all the video production tools, the audio production tools, anything that eats up GPU resources they're funding.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's creative.
Well, and I want to make the point. We've been tracking AI investments for like 8 to 10 weeks now, something like this.
Right.
So worldwide investments in AI startups, AI initiatives, whatever. The dominant trends have been infrastructure, obviously number one, but then you have specific tools such as creative tools. And then we have agentic workflow tools. Then the next big one has been like in anything in healthcare, biosciences, things like that, like generating new, figuring out a model for 3D printing a new body part or something like a bone that was broken on somebody, that kind of thing. AI applied to biosciences. They're touching every single one of these sectors in a big way. And now I bet if we were able to go back through all that, like we'd find out that, Nvidia was actually the primary 38% of all investment in all this was Nvidia.
Well, so here's the thing. I feel like, to me, everybody's talking about OpenAI. OpenAI is doing this, OpenAI is doing that. To me, it feels a little bit like smoking mirrors, right? Because OpenAI is, we talk about it, it's like a centralized thing that's trying to lock you in and you go there, you've got all these users, yada, yada. But Nvidia is almost like behind the curtain. No one really like, we're making chips, yada, yada. But no one really like sees that this is just 50 companies that invested this year, right? I got to go and like look at what they invested last year. Because last year they did like 48 companies. So like, that's my next project, but they're investing, they're already beating their record from last year. So like, they're quietly building this infrastructure. And here's, look at this map. Do you see the little lines that go between different things?
All these lines connecting all the spheres.
Right. So how OpenAI is connected to different companies. So that's not decoration, that's dependency. So every line that goes between different things, that just means they all depend on each other. Right. So that's another thing to think about, that, because it's like, it's a little, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket by no means, right? So they still have their customers, which, by the way, 4 of the biggest customers, which is like Google, Microsoft, I forgot the other 2, but they are they contribute to like 50% of the revenue, and they've got 30% of their revenue coming from the mystery customers that we think is either government or somebody else that we don't need to know about, which I thought it was interesting. But they just already have their revenue coming in, and now they're building this other infrastructure of investments that will need them all the time. So they're sort of like securing their future by funding these companies, because they have to buy stuff from them going forward.
Yeah, they're using the entire AI layer to create a new class of customer that cannot leave.
I don't want to say it's a Ponzi scheme, but it's kind of weird. Like, what would happen if something happens to Nvidia's chips? What would happen to these companies that rely on them?
Well, what would happen to the chips?
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of supply.
If they're made and they work, they work. Now, obviously satisfying demand is an issue, and I think there's sort of infinite demand here. The other thing that strikes me as a potential wrench in this plan is the edge AI race for edge AI computing seems to be more open than just Nvidia clearly having a dominant role over everyone else. We've explored a couple of those bets, I think in episode 6 or 7. a lot of edge AI plays. So they're not the only player. There's a couple Taiwanese companies getting in on this. There's a whole lot of emphasis being placed on edge computing. And obviously they're making plays in edge computing. So like, what does this mean? My clearest vision for edge computing is your phone, the device in your hand, is going to have a supercomputing chip in it, a quantum chip that performs AI level reasoning just in your hand. It doesn't need to call out to a data center to do all this. But what's more practical there is probably like robots operating in warehouses, things like that are performing little reasoning tasks out in the wild, like at the node level. They don't need to call back to the supercomputer to get their instructions. There's going to be tons of this. So edge AI, that type of computing, the chips that power this are going to be huge. You can almost think of it like Transformers, the old robots that transformed into cars and stuff, each one of those having its own chip, being an autonomous thing. That's what edge AI is. So I think that's a potential wrench into their play. But I think it's fascinating that they've chosen OpenAI as the primary conduit for all this new, establishing this new type of customer that can't leave them. They've identified that OpenAI is the best way to access all of the companies and end users who are going to be relying on this stuff. I mean, OpenAI is the biggest player in the space. They have the most monthly active users. Interestingly, some data came out this week that such a small percentage of their active users actually pay for anything.
For now, I mean,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They're
if all these other companies are reliant on them for their AI reasoning, that's all that matters to them because it's the compute power.
I was just stunned to see how many companies are actually in bed with Nvidia. And by the way, Nvidia itself, the name, you know what that means?
I thought it was like something like video.
From the Latin word envy. So I thought that was an interesting name that they picked for the company back in the day when they founded it. I
remember messing with that stuff in the 90s, for crying out loud.
They are playing 4D chess. Like, it's insane. So let's talk about 3 futures that they are potentially building, right? The future number 1, by doing all these investments, and meanwhile, oh yes, we're making billions of dollars every year and profiting really greatly. But future number 1, the compute utility monopoly. So they want to become the electricity company of AI. So right now they sell hardware to a handful of big customers. Oh, here they are: Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Google.
Yeah.
Those 4 customers equal about 50% of Nvidia's revenue. And that's dangerous for them. What if one of them builds their own chips, right? They're all trying. So Nvidia is engineering a different future. Instead of selling $30,000 GPUs to 4 customers, they're building a metered utility for thousands. So look at the evidence. $100 billion OpenAI deal isn't just an investment. They're financing the power plant. The $4 billion CoreWeave stake, that's owning the distribution network. Commonwealth Fusion, securing the energy source. DGX Cloud, becoming the utility provider directly. So in 5 years, this is what it could look like. Every business has a compute bill, like they have an electricity bill, charged per inference call. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, inference, which is AI reasoning.
Charge per training hour, charge per agent execution. And here's the key. There's no viable alternative. So instead of 4 giant customers who could leave, Nvidia gets 50,000 smaller customers who can't, more stable, more defensible, monopoly pricing without monopoly regulation. What do you think about my, what do you call those people that like always think that something is like,
oh, your conspiracy theory?
What do you think about my conspiracy theory about that?
I like your tinfoil hat thing. That's clearly what's going on. You wouldn't make investments across all these sectors that are connected, especially downstream. So I imagine a solar system sort of like this, but you see each planet going out from the sun, and like you see the planet's orbit, like the ring. Each planet you get further out depends on the planet that was closer in than it.
The gravity,
that's how
right?
their investment rings are. So every planet you get farther out depends on all the ones above it. It's crazy to watch them play this out like this. But that's like the agent relies on some other delivery engine, maybe like a Supabase or something that ties, a lot of data together for them and user data, and then that relies on the OpenAI or the the ChatGPT.
If they truly gonna have a monopoly, right? So kind of like our electrical bill right now, we gotta pay no matter what. I mean, I don't know, like, do we have alternatives in City of Boston to go and do something else? And all this,
you can run your own solar.
And it's kind of like going back to the point that we made earlier about caring about how much your AI usage costs, because if everything is run through Nvidia and they can like up what it costs to run a prompt or like the tokens or whatever, it's all interconnected, right? Like it's all interconnected. So if the companies, if you are like locked into that company and now suddenly their bill from Nvidia goes higher, what are you going to do?
Well, I will push back a little bit. I actually think all that interconnectedness forces them to have reasonable pricing, because if they jack something up, it could potentially throw off the balance of the entire ecosystem in ways that would be catastrophic. So
Nah, I just think they can name whatever they want, so that's going to be interesting.
yeah, I hear about that, but that never really happens.
Well,
It never
we'll
really
see.
happens.
I mean, again, like what else would they want to be? Utility monopoly?
Well, I mean, we have seen examples of long tails getting snipped off in various capacities, and if this plays out as you've described, that will certainly be happening. That will
Well, I
certainly.
mean, is there only like other? Maybe it's a great future. Like, I just don't think so. I don't think monopoly is the great future for anything. But what do you think?
Well, this strikes me as a classic, like Shakespearean hubris thing. Icarus is going to fly a little too close to the sun here. Something will happen, something unexpected. I think the edge AI thing,
Well, true.
you know,
However, who is providing chips for edge AI? We talked about that. Nvidia is in there too.
right? No question. But I'm saying that's where they have the most competition. They've got the original GPU thing locked down, but this quantum thing where the chips can be smaller, potentially made. There's sensitive equipment that's needed to make these things, but
Well,
it's
maybe
just
maybe that investment is incoming. But
yeah, maybe
anyway,
it is.
something for you guys to think about as you're having your coffee tomorrow morning. Future number 2 is intelligent matter everywhere. So now here's why physical AI is labeled biggest bets on that map, right? So if we look back on the map, the big tech can build their own chips for data centers. Google has TPUs, Amazon has Trainium, Microsoft is exploring custom silicon. They are all trying to escape NVIDIA's grip in the cloud. I have to make a graphic for that. All the different horses
Show
going,
them escaping or attempting to escape.
trying to escape the grip, man, because they've been planning this. I mean, since I think 2015, when he first started talking to, when he first announced GPU, I saw it on X the other day, and the only one billionaire cared about what he shared on the stage about like some GPU conversation. Guess which billionaire cared about knowing about all this computing power?
It was Elon Musk.
Oh my God, how did you guess?
I
This
did
is
just
great.
random guess,
He's the
happenstance.
only one who called him and say, "Tell me more." So anyway, that was what,
That
10 years
coincides
ago.
with Nvidia's dominance. Nvidia was always a player, but they absolutely shot to the moon when the crypto stuff went off, because you needed these GPUs for most efficient Bitcoin mining and crypto mining. And so that happened, and then AI comes on the back of that. You talk about the best set of circumstances all time for this. This is it.
Listen, I didn't have time to include the playbook of the CEO, what he does, but he does it every time. There's some like crypto comes in, there's the AI, there was something before that. Like he's got it all, he's got it down. Like his playbook is crazy.
I think this is
But
his 4th big run, because there was a
yes,
thing in the 90s
he,
for like building young gaming
this
PCs.
guy looks so cute and innocent. He is in his leather
Yeah.
jacket, but
There was another
man,
one to run like these advanced graphics things in the early 2000s. So I feel like there's 2 iterations
yep.
and then crypto. And now
Video gaming. I mean, that's crazy.
yeah.
So okay, let's get back to the future number 2. So here's what they cannot do. This big Amazon and Google build custom chips for every robot, car, and medical device their customers use. Physical AI is different. It's distributed across billions of devices. It needs real-time processing, can't wait for cloud latency. It requires edge compute. Processing happens locally. Here's your edge. This is NVIDIA's permanent moat. Amazon might replace NVIDIA in their data centers, but they cannot replace NVIDIA in the warehouse robots, self-driving cars, surgical robots, and AI-powered manufacturing equipment. So every investment in this cluster, Figure AI, Wave, WeRide, is NVIDIA locking up the physical world before big tech realizes it's the real battleground. So what can it look like in 5 years? So your car runs on a mobile GPU doing real-time inference. Warehouse robots coordinate through NVIDIA's edge compute. Medical devices continuously process AI locally, and manufacturing equipment optimizes in real time.
Real quick, that medical devices thing is going to be absolutely huge. Medical devices doing continuous monitoring and assessment of your situation. This is going to be such a big thing. Every person is going to be affected by this.
And here's the shift. So today, Nvidia sells a $30,000 GPU once. Tomorrow, they sell 500 Edge chip plus $50 a month for model updates, compute credits, security patches, and orchestration. That's the recurring revenue across billions of devices. The big tech cannot replicate that.
That is another thing that needs to really be mentioned twice. The fact that you can have ongoing inference, there is a cost per action, which I have mentioned many times before. That is a built-in recurring model. This is the juiciest thing that's ever happened for somebody like this in this position. It's an unbelievable opportunity.
So that was future number 2. Guess what future number 3 is?
Please tell me.
It's called, I know, I thought you would never ask. It's the self-reinforcing loop. So this is where it gets really clever, all right? So these investments that we talked about, they aren't just customers. They're a demand generation machine. So watch how this works. Nvidia invests in poolside AI coding tools. More developers use AI to write code. More AI applications get built, more GPU demand. Nvidia's revenue grows. Now they have more capital to invest. So they invest in runway, video generation. More creators make AI content, massive, and why is it so hard for me to say that? Inference?
Yes.
Inference workload, more GPU demand, revenue grows again. Then they invest in figure AI, robotics, physical AI scales, edge compute explodes, the cycle intensifies. So each investments create demand for the others. It's like a self-reinforcing loop where Nvidia controls both the supply and demand. And why it's genius? Well, today, if Meta stops buying GPUs, Nvidia hurts. In future number 3, if any one portfolio company stops buying, 49 others still need GPUs.
And they're paying for inference, cost per action.
They are not depending on demand anymore. They're manufacturing it. This is, oh my God, this is so brilliant. Like I am kind of like, it's scary how thought through this is. So, and this is how this, what do you think about future number 3?
I mean, I get this mix of vibes. Like I'm sort of in awe. I sort of feel like this is like Batman villain before they have the clash. Like it's got this thing built up. How can you beat this? Batman stands no chance. How will Gotham be saved? Stay tuned.
Well, yeah. So this is how they come together, right? So potentially how they connect. So now pull back and see the whole picture. They aren't 3 separate futures. They could be 3 layers of the same system, which is probably what they're doing, right? So future number 3, the loop, funds future number 1, the utility, which powers future number 2, the physical world. And all 3 create more demand for each other.
I mean, the demand for this isn't going down. The future of software is embedded AI. Embedded AI means an explosion in computation,
Thank you.
inference, and cost per action.
Yeah.
And lock in on tokens, so like recurring revenue opportunities. It's crazy.
I
But
mean,
I've discussed before, so this is
like,
interesting too.
as a salesperson, listen, as a salesperson, this is genius to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like who cares? They're not going out there and selling anything. They're literally manufacturing this. And they're architecting the whole game board that we're still like, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, what is happening? This is all from me noticing that they've been, because they're very quiet about it. They're not shouting on every corner what they're doing.
I don't see a lot of like posts on X about like Nvidia's investments.
But you don't, or you do?
No.
And then, well, because they don't, in some of the investments, they don't even like disclose. I mean, they disclose that they're an investor, but they don't disclose how much.
It looks like this should be making some noise.
So well, why would they? They don't want to be noticed.
No,
but
I'm saying like people should be noticing.
Well,
look at these bubbles. Look at that solar system.
Well, the Nvidia chips are at the bottom of every layer, and they're playing pretty interesting game. So why does it matter to you, right? So you're watching this and you're like, Olga, great work, you know, amazing. You got to the whatever the bottom of this. But here's the deal: like I want to know what game are we playing, right? And so it's not about OpenAI, Claude, this and this and this. I mean, if you look 30,000 feet, right? When you raise VC money and you buy GPUs, you're helping Nvidia diversify away from big tech, which is what they're doing, and create their demand loop. And here's the opportunity for you who's watching. Look where Nvidia isn't investing. Small business tools, privacy first AI, low compute solutions, emerging markets. That's the white space. Build kind of what they won't fund, I guess,
Why
because,
do that? I want them to fund me. Look at all this
well, I
money.
mean, they becoming their pawn, Chris. You want to be the pawn? I want to. Whatever, take me.
I mean, it looks like you're going to be the pawn no matter what you do.
Right, exactly. So as I just want to know what game am I playing? Because if I don't know, that's kind of weird, right?
I
And
like
so,
that. Know what game you're playing.
exactly. So this explains a lot, right? Why GPU shortages happen, it's controlled supply, why AI tools are expensive, monopoly pricing, and why everything feels locked into one system, because it is. They're engineering which figures get built and which ones do not. Anyway, so that's kind of what do you think about all this?
Well, I think this should be bigger news. I think you deserve some sort of Pulitzer Prize for uncovering this this enormous, it's not a scam, it's not a scheme, it's just
Who said laundry machine? Yep.
yeah,
Love it.
that's VK
That's it.
Fundeveld there. That's a funny thing, a laundry machine. Indeed it is.
Yep. So basically, remember, this is the takeaway. Follow the chips. That's what the real power is, because they are leading the trail and you can see what that could look like. And, it's just like asking some questions like, based on all of this, what are the potential futures, right? And this is what it could be. But I know for sure it's not a coincidence.
I mean, I'm just a naive creator guy. This is where my lust for power absolutely ends. But like, I just want to build these cool things, and like I said, I want to express an idea and have AI execute that idea. You go from just a thought, like it used to be, you had to have this thought, you had to figure out what you need to do, gather all these resources, deploy it, test it, refine it, do all this stuff. But now you can go from idea to result. Like we are just paving over the whole damn thing. And like, to me, that's good enough. Like, you give me that, I got everything I ever wanted. That is amazing. So, maybe I'm being naive there, but like, if we can get to that and I can do that consistently across all the things that I do, or as many as possible, that's incredible. Now, there is a big challenge. We can pave over the entire digital landscape in the way I've described. You should be, if it's like something you do on the computer, you should go from idea expression to output in no time. That future needs to happen soon. The one that's almost emerging as being more interesting to me is the physical world. I need something fixed in my house. Can AI do this?
Maybe.
How can we make that a simple process?
The robot plumber is coming. I don't know.
I got a bunch of leaves in my backyard. I got these elm trees that drop a ton of leaves a year.
I don't think we're that far away from this. I mean, I know there's two camps of people, and there's one camp that, oh my God, AI is everywhere, it's exciting. And there's another camp like, oh my God, AI is just like, who cares? And I am like, whenever I hear that, I'm like, you like, come listen to our show. This is look what's going on while everybody's kind of like, look over here. We have OpenAI, ChatGPT. Meanwhile, Nvidia over here quietly, doing what they need to do. Anyway, very interesting to me. I hope it was helpful for you guys. I really want us here to understand what is actually happening, so we're not being blindsided, right, as we're moving on, because this plays only because Nvidia has a lot of cash. I mean, they make their profits are something crazy. So they've got a lot of money to play. And if anybody played Monopoly here, if you have a lot of money to play, you can buy a lot of properties and make a lot of players very unhappy later in Monopoly.
They got that entire third side of the board with like Pennsylvania, New York, Park Place,
the
and all
whole
that.
thing.
Like, you're not getting through there too many times before you're bankrupt.
Well, anyway, we'll keep on watching the space. We do have one more. Should we?
I vote we kill that segment, move it to next week. It'll be applicable then.
Yes, for sure. All right, that's a good idea. So that way we can keep this manageable. And last but not least, let's talk about AI funding, and how it exploded this week. So let's talk about. Can you go give me a different?
Oh, I sure can.
Are you gonna do any demo today? Do you want to do any demo today?
I'll do a quick one.
Okay. All right.
You talk about this, I'll set that
Stay
up
with
real quick.
us. We're going to show you the actual practical AI native looking product right after this, what Chris is cooking. But before that, so here's AI funding from this week. We've got 3.7 billion in a single week for AI companies. That is non-AI companies 6 billion, and AI is 3.7 billion. That's crazy. So AI represents 27% of companies' funding. And where is it happening? United States, of course, is the winner again. 2.4 billion went to US-based companies in AI chips, healthcare AI, and enterprise tools. Europe is back on the board with 19%, 700 million. And it's kind of, they're focusing on robotics and sustainability AI. Switzerland and the UK, that's where the money is going. China, 8%, whatever. And the rest of the world is 8%. So United States and Europe are winning. So who are the 5 biggest raisers this week? Can I say raisers?
Sure, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, but yeah. So the first one is AI goes physical. Forget software only. The big money is in AI that controls robots, scans warehouses, designs drugs, and runs on custom chips. AI is escaping the cloud. It's beginning. No more cloud.
I can't wait. End of an era. Rip. We hardly
You
knew
heard
you.
it here first. Number 2, healthcare is the gold mine. Cardigan, Lila Sciences, probable. Health AI is attracting massive rounds. Investors believe AI can accelerate medicine faster. Oh, those are trending. I was like, what? I'm definitely sleep deprived. Is this what I'm? Yeah, I'm totally reading the wrong thing. Scratch this. Number 1 was Cardigan, 254 million. They take your genetics and your health history and use AI to predict what diseases you're likely to get before they happen. Personalized medicine on steroids. That's Cardigan, a US company. Number 2 is Tachium.
Tachyon?
What the heck is that?
Tachyon, I think it's about heart stuff.
Tachium is
Oh, maybe not. No, I guess it's not.
Another US company. They got 220 million. They build AI chips designed specifically to train and run AI models faster and cheaper. They're selling the hammers to the builders. So non-sexy stuff. Lila Sciences, that's what got my attention. That's the Nvidia backed company.
Yes.
115 million US company. They use machine learning to design new drugs. What used to take years in the lab, AI can do now in weeks. And number 4 is Ecorobotics.
Ecorobotics.
That's a Switzerland company, 105 million. Robots that look at each plant and spray pesticides only where needed. Saves farmers money, saves planet chemicals.
It's a hippie startup, absolute catnip for Silicon
100
Valley
million,
investors.
105 million. And Dexery, 100 million, UK, autonomous robots that scan warehouse inventory in real time. No more manual stock checks.
I want to make a point about Tachyon. So they are building AI chips designed specifically to train and run AI models faster and cheaper. That is actually like an interstitial in the process. Okay, so you have your end users and you have your AI models, and we're mostly just interfacing directly with them. There is an entire class of startups that's being built to run their own local models that rely on the bigger models, but they're trying to do their own thing here with faster processing in certain areas or whatever. It's like targeted. It's like taking the whole Borg and like pointing it in one specific direction and like superpowering it in that direction. There was a whole class of startups, like I said, so some of our Dharmesh segments have kind of keyed in on a little bit of this stuff about like, what was the one called Memo? It was like doing its own reasoning.
Yeah.
One of these things. Yeah. This is to power that ecosystem. It's like a more targeted use of high compute AI. So that exists at a level that I think none of us are really even thinking about right now, or largely not thinking about. But interesting that it's getting that level of investment. Clearly, there's a lot happening there.
Well, and the trends from this week, as you can see, healthcare, health tech, and bio AI, right? So Lila Sciences, Weave, I mean, you can see the names. So the trend is the surge in AI-driven drug discovery, digital health, and mental health problems. Okay.
I like the drug discovery. That caught my attention.
Right, for sure. And then fintech, insurtech AI. That's AI applied to risk modeling, financial analytics, and claims automation. So again, very specific, right? Going in the niche. Enterprise and SaaS AI. Some companies got funding, Second Nature AI, Reducto, Fleetworks, AI for automation, workflow optimization, and document intelligence. Infrastructure, robotics, deep tech.
Paperwork AI.
And then generative and agentic AI. So there's still, so it's kind of like, I feel like it's moving away from lots, billions of dollars into like one big model. It's like now we're getting into that more niche.
Tens and hundreds of millions in a sublayer, or like a more outer planetary ring, if you imagine that, that solar system sort of diagram. So
right. So anyway, go check out those 5 winners, see what they're doing, and kind of see what the money is moving. It's very fascinating to me. I like that. I like that we get to see how things are shaping and changing. And US is definitely where it's at. One more thing, actually, I didn't know, we didn't mention about Nvidia. Nvidia is restricted from selling to China. I don't know who did that, who was, but basically, like there's that they can sell like less compute, less powerful GPUs to China. So there's some things that go in there, I believe, but I think it's interesting that it's regulated, that they are limited, which they don't really seem like they're hurting that much. And I also think it's fascinating that if you look at their investments, overall, they are investing not just in the US, they're also investing in Europe. So that was also an interesting point, kind of going back to Nvidia, now that we know that they're literally investing as a company. They also have a fund that I haven't even looked at, but we talked about only what they're investing as a company, not as a fund. Anyway, so that's all for today. I know Chris has a demo. What do you want to show today?
oh, let's do a quick demo. Let me just pop this over here. We'll share this tab.
For those who want to get going, thanks for being here. I've heard really awesome feedback from one of our viewers this week that it helps her think about kind of what she's doing and what's happening. So I'm hoping by you being here, you got a couple thoughts. I know I do always after I finish working, because there's so much going on, and we do the best to keep it as humanly understandable as possible. Otherwise, the brain can explode. But all that said, Chris.
All right, let's look at a quick little demo of an embedded AI. This is Architect AI inside PageMotor, which is a CMS that's replacing WordPress. This is an AI native CMS. And so what I did this week, last week I showed you guys creating some content with Architect AI. This week I played with creating plugins, sort of mostly as a proof of concept for now. I'm not doing anything too crazy.
Well, did you say you created plugin with AI?
I created plugins with AI, creating code, creating actual software now with AI. Super cool. But it's not just creating software so I can copy and paste it somewhere and run it. This is going to load up and run and work in the environment and be already integrated. So let's take a look. So I use this simple prompt: create a plugin that creates a new content type called product. This content type should not have a URL endpoint, and it should only be available in the theme environment. It should also have content options so users can enter a price for each product they create. So I'm not going to run it here. So here, I ran it. Here's what it did. Go ahead.
Hold on. Before you do that, I just want to point out, this is what the native AI thing should look like. Just the prompt. So this just the prompt, lots of context.
Express your idea.
Yep.
Let this thing do it.
Okay, let's do the magic.
So we go into our content types. We have basic content types like page, your home page, something called modular content, which is really cool, and a 404 page. But this thing added a product content type, just as I asked. Now we'll go in here. There's not one yet. So let's create a new one. We're going to call it widget. And here's, I could enter, HTML content or whatever about my product. But then I can also select a product price, or I can enter a product price and a sales price. These are called content options. And I'll show you what this thing did, which is really cool. So every content type can have content options underneath it. The page content type has a bunch. You can select a custom template. You can enter a title tag, meta description, do some other stuff. There's a bunch of these, but you don't see the price here. The prices are not relevant to a page that gets created. The prices are only relevant to a product. So we go look at our product page, which I didn't save, I clicked away from, but you don't see any of those other boxes because that stuff's not relevant to this product. It's just so you only see the options that are relevant to this thing. The Architect AI created this plugin and like executed this perfectly. There's no like unintentional conflicts. There's no stuff appearing where it shouldn't. It did a really good job of handling that. I think that's really cool. It also created this content type seamlessly. And it did all this with, I mean, it did it in like 28 seconds or something. It took absolutely no code. I went and looked at the results. Like it executed it perfectly according to the documentation, everything, exactly how I would do it. And it did a really good job. It even added like tooltips to these input fields and also input descriptions, which is a better like user experience. Really great.
So, wow.
Like obviously it doesn't do very much. It's a very simple prompt, but I mean, it added a content type to the PageMotor site called product. I can create products. So I'll just create a widget and save it. It also did this interesting thing. So let's look at this. Notice the top of this just has an ID. If we look at a page, there's more information up there. There's an ID, there's an author, there's a status. These things are relevant to a page because a page gets published with a URL. It also has like a URL constructor. Well, I said in the prompt, this thing does not have a URL endpoint. So you don't have a URL here. You don't have an author because it doesn't matter who created it. There's no status like live or draft. That's not relevant to a product. It's just a product. So it's amazing that it was able to create the content type and specify exactly this information to produce the most minimal but accurate UI possible for this thing.
And it happened all with just one prompt.
One prompt. I showed you the prompt. It was like 3 lines.
That's crazy. That's talk about software building software. That's insane.
So pretty sweet that it pulled that off to the extent that it did.
So this is a good example of AI native product, embedded AI, right? Because literally you're using Claude.
The prompt exists in the software and it takes actions within the software. It doesn't do Q&A. I mean, it can do Q&A. What's the point? It takes actions with tools, which I mentioned earlier in the show, tools. It uses tools. Right now it has 2 tools, create content and create a plugin.
You struggled with something this week in terms of figuring out the time or something like that.
Yeah, I might as well talk about this. So very interesting aspect of this. So if you enter a prompt, right now I'm set, my server's set to operate for 60 seconds on this. It has a 60-second window where it will wait for a response from Claude, which is what it uses, Claude Sonnet 4.5. And if it reaches 60 seconds, it just cuts the whole thing off and you get nothing. That sucks. The way this has to work, that's because I'm running it through a direct PHP process. It's synchronous. What everyone who's doing serious embedded AI, though, is doing, and what I have to switch this over to, is an asynchronous request, where I set up the request and I set up something called a job. And then I've got this little agent here that's going to run on your PageMotor site. It's going to call back to Claude and say, hey, buddy, you got something for me? Every 15 seconds, going to call back. You got something for me? You got something for me? And every time Claude has something for it, it will spit that out. And it will continue to do that asynchronously, like running in the background. You can continue doing whatever you're doing. And it will continue to pick up pieces of that process and eventually provide you with what the full scope of your answer. This is how you get around specific server limitations. This is how you increase the context window to be able to capture the maximum amount of token uses that you can get from a single request. This is how you do complex things with an embedded AI. So I'm building that system over the next week. It's a little more complicated than I would like, but it's actually a fairly standard thing in software that does this sort of calling out to something else and looking for complex reasoning or a complex response. So it's not something I anticipate. It's not something I've done before, but now that I know about it, it's like, okay. All right.
And to those who don't know about this is all running on the code that Chris built himself. So it's not running on WordPress. It's not running on any. It's called PageMotor.
Yeah, this is a standalone CMS. Let's just click around. This is in the admin. This is lightning fast. Pulling up new stuff. Boom, boom, boom. It is really, really quick. We can go into our theme settings. We'll look at design options. No, we don't want that. We'll go into a theme editor. Oh my God, we've got this whole big editor, big CSS editor with SCSS, mix-ins, variables, the whole thing. It's so
Yeah,
fast,
and this is
and
all
user
great.
management.
This is all great, but for people like me who just wants to enter prompt and see the page, show what the page looks like.
What? Oh, like
Any page. I mean,
let's
the
see.
one.
We've got this page that it created, this amazing sales page. Let's look at this. So it created this sales page this week. This is incredible. Some of my beta peeps have seen this already, but this is too good. I gave it a prompt. Let's see. It says, create a sales page that will get visitors excited about the embedded AI prompt in page motor called Architect AI. That's all I said.
And it did all of this by
It
itself.
made this page with these things called bleeds. That's where this color goes edge to edge in the browser. It used this convention called impact text. It did really great copywriting. If you take time to read this, I'm not going to do it right now.
By the way, you just like skip all this important things, like copywriting for somebody like who doesn't really like. I mean, I can write a sales page, whatever, but like it did everything for me. So now I just review it. It uses the best, I guess. I don't know what it does, what kind of things magically it's pulling out, but then it writes this magical copy that all I have to do is just review it and see if I like it, tweak it if I need to tweak it. But all of that formatting and everything in text is done all with AI.
Well, I think people kind of scoff at AI produced content, and there's good reason why. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why you can be like skeptical and whatever. But the reality is, with something like a sales page, there's a formulaic approach. There's a formula for a sales page that's good. This thing executed that formula. You can go in and tweak its taste. But the bottom line is this thing executed the formula for a sales page for the generalized content, and then it went back through and added a formatting layer that is really good. Like, this is professionally polished. It's got the bleed at the top, using impact text, employing contextual bolding. It's writing in a style that captures attention design, very short, three, 4 lines or less on paragraphs, ideally 2 or 3 lines for every one. A lot of bullet points interstitially throughout the page to, those re-engage attention. It's using call outs to interrupt the flow and convey important information. So even if you don't read all the black text on the white background, you're reading these interstitials. You're going to see these. It's employed emojis in a very tasteful and subdued way, but for features, like that kind of goes with features. We've seen icons presented with features, which is just it's following generalized web conventions, which is great. It's done an example interaction with the Architect AI, which I just think is a fascinating thing. Like, I don't know if I'd have thought to do that, but I think it's genius. Love that. It shows features and tells it how it solves people's problems. It identifies customer avatars. I mean, that's pretty good stuff. Again, another full width bleed with some text that people are going to read.
Yep. And it's all.
And it made buttons. It made freaking buttons, which I told it has all these tools available. But the fact that it just did this, chose where to do them, and did it like, it did all this stuff, and then it gives you a call to action, and then it gives you another bleed to like, hey, you've scrolled past the call to action. Let's give you a little reminder.
Your next breakthrough is just the conversation away.
This is just really convincing results. This is Claude Sonnet 4.5 that has generated this.
Oh, where do you connect that?
Haiku to see if it does this good of a job. This is great.
Where do you connect that thing? Like, is it pretty obvious in terms of like how to switch the models? Because I know we talked.
I don't have a model switcher built in yet.
Okay, so it's just
what I have is up here in this corner. In the prompt, you'll be able to choose the model you want to use.
Okay, got it. Cool.
It will just list all the ones that are available in Page Motor. It'll list all the ones that are available to this Architect AI expression. If you use Page Motor and you're in the beta, soon you're going to get this whole thing rolled out to where you can have all these models available and choose where you want to deploy them. You could put one on your front end if you want. And
what are you cooking this week?
I gotta make that asynchronous request work so I can do huge things. Once I'm able to do that, I'm going to try to build a complex e-commerce plugin. And then I'm going to go all the way and say, hey, build my whole freaking site around this.
I love it. I mean, this is so fun. This is a practical AI example, real life, that you're building and figuring it out. And you heard it here first. Well, unless you have anything else, thanks everybody for watching. And great job, Chris. And
thank you.
We will be back with more stuff for you.
My producer crushed it this week. We had a world premiere, breaking news.
This week was very technical stuff and a lot of stuff that I really want to cover because I want you guys to be ahead of the curve. So anyway, thanks for being here. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Next time, gang. Thanks for being here.
Bye.